What's going on, everybody? This is Dr. Chris Featherstone here once again for another episode of UnSKripted Listening. It's Tuesday night. You know what that means. I have some of the biggest, the baddest, the best talent of today and yesteryear, and this night is no different. Listen, I got to give the people what they want, and that is an episode of UnSKripted. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't cut corners when it comes to business, and I have no clue. I don't know if it was a time lapse. I don't know. I just talked to her less than 2 hours ago, and I'm still waiting. So I don't know. I don't know if she gets back with me and say, "Oh man, I thought it was Central." I'm not sure, but we've been corresponding back and forth for a while, and I don't want to consider it as a no-show, but it seems like it when it comes to my guests. But it's not over because I have a friend of mine who is a legend in the pro wrestling business. He is a legend, ladies and gentlemen, and he better be in the Hall of Fame sooner or later. I think if I had it my way, he'd be in the Hall of Fame because he's an absolute legend. AWA World Tag Team Champion, and he is the trainer of trainers. He is the mind, the booker. He helped with WCW. He was helpful in WWE at a time. Man, he is an absolute legend. And a lot of times he comes back during Legends times, and he's the guy. He's my friend. And I'm honored to call him a friend. I said, you know what? I'm going to call somebody to give someone an opportunity, to give my audience an opportunity to be involved in the show. Show must go on. So it's going to be definitely truncated, less than half of the time, but we're still going to have fun with my man, the legendary Greg Gagne. How are you tonight, my man?
Well, Chris, thank you very much. You always call me when you get stuck and don't have, and your guest doesn't show up. I'm kind of the backup guy. Tag in.
Yeah,
You're going for the tag and nobody's there, so you grab me.
Yes. I'm like, oh man, what a heel turn! What happened, man?
So I got to come flying in here and throw a couple drop kicks at you.
Yes, throw a couple drop kicks, man.
No,
So
thanks for having me on. I'm glad I could do this for you.
It's always a pleasure, man. I appreciate you coming through for me. And you are the quintessential tag team specialist, man. I mean, you look, the proof is in the pudding, ladies and gentlemen. This guy right here is the quintessential tag team specialist. Why? Because I had a no-show and I tagged this guy in, and he's always there. He's all like, I can reach anywhere, and Greg Gagne is there for the tag every single time. So,
and I was famous for my slow, deliberate, and fiery comeback. So here it is. Maybe I'm ready.
Yes, indeed. I love it. Well, you've got some big projects going on, man. So Sportskeeda has an audience of over 3 million viewers. So here's the floor.
All right, here it is. Steve Rosenthal was president of Remco Toys back in the 80s. And his son was a wrestling fan. He lived up in New Jersey. And his son said, "Dad, why don't you do wrestlers?" So Steve went to Vince McMahon, and he made about 5 trips up to him with the contract, another contract, and Vince wanted it changed. He wanted upfront money and all this. So after about 5 times, he was into Steve for a pretty good number. He came up to do the final contract, and Vince said, these people, threw a magazine at him. He said, "Yeah, I know him." He says, "Well, I signed with them." So Steve came to my father, Vern, at the AWA, and we were the first. Steve, we did the action figures, the wrestling action figures. We were the first one to get in the market. Steve did it for 10 years and retired. Wow. And he called me about 9 months ago. He said, "Hey, Greg, you want to get back in the action figure business?" I said, "Well, like what?" And he said, "Well, I was playing golf with some of my buddies, and they're all presidents, CEOs of toy companies. And they said, 'God, that wrestling is really hot.' So we got a couple of our guys that spent 14 hours on the phone with collectors from around the world. And what they wanted to see was the old stuff. So what we've done, we've gone back to starting in 1950 when wrestling originally went on network TV. It was on the Dumont network out of Chicago. And the stars on there were Lou Thez, Vern Gagne, Dick the Bruiser, Lonnie Poffo, or Lonnie Poffo, Angelo Poffo, Randy's father and Lonnie's father, Yukon Eric, Killer Kowalski, Wilbur Snyder, Dick the Bruiser, the Crusher, Yukon Eric. Did I say him? Don Leo Jonathan. I mean, God, it was, so anyhow, I had to dig out and find all these families. And as of today, we have 140 on board, 140 contracts signed. And we're doing something that's more unique and different than anybody. Steve hooked up with the McFarland Group, two of the fellows that worked for McFarland, which was, they were the premier action figure company and how they made them. And they've come up with a new look. Most of the articulation on the action figures is like, I don't know, 12 to 14, what they call what do they call them again? Christ. But anyhow, ours are articulation, and ours have 32. Wow. So we came out with the first 6 a couple weeks ago. They haven't been on the market. They will be. People will be able to order them. We have from the 50s, we have Luthez and Vern. And then we have Stan Hansen and Ted DiBiase.
Oh, nice.
Magnum TA and Kerry Von Erich.
Okay.
Those were our first 6. Nice. And we've got some of the biggest names in wrestling, and we'll do that. We've got some other ideas nobody else has on the market that we're coming out with, and I don't want to say what they are just yet because somebody will jump in and try to take it. But it's going to be fabulous. I think we'll probably be kicking this off in the next couple months. But with 140, it's going to be a while to get it out. So Magnum TAs, I brought him in as a partner with me.
Nice.
Steve Rosenthal and his group. And Steve ran into Mark Friedman, who was president of Surge Licensing Company. Surge was the largest company in the world. They did the Ninja Turtles, which was the #1 selling action figure of all time. So he sold the company for a huge number. The people running it weren't doing so well, so they brought his son in, and his son now runs it, Lonnie, and is doing a fabulous job. So they talked to Steve and talked to him. They said, well, let's I'll bring on a few of the people in the company, and we'll do some stuff with it. So then they wanted to interview. Mark wanted to hear from Magnum TA and myself, and we talked for about an hour and a half. Hung up the phone. Mark called me on the phone 5 minutes later. He said, this could be bigger than the Ninja Turtles. He said, I'm out of retirement. I'm coming back. I got the whole company on board, and we're going to blow this thing out of the water. So it's pretty exciting. It's going to take a little bit to get it all going because the 140 people on, and we've got some really unique things that nobody else has on the market. The WWE does fantastic with their merchandising, and they've got some of the most fabulous video games I've ever seen. We have not only action figures, we have a lot of things coming out of the chute that's going to surprise a lot of people.
Nice. Very nice.
Thanks for asking about it. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, I appreciate you as always, man. Ricky said he loves
Power Town, where the legends live on.
Power Town. Nice. Is there like a website or a social media page or anything?
They're just finishing that up, and that should be coming out. Okay. And when it does, I'm going to interrupt you and say, you got to get me on the show because it's only about every 4 years you get stuck. Then you call me.
Text me. You're on. Yep. I'll be your tag partner, man. Text me. Fantastic. And I want to bring you back on, and Magnum TA as well.
He loved it. How many viewers are out there watching? How's your numbers?
We get thousands. Like Sportskeeda, we have over 3 million viewer reach. We get
fantastic
tens of thousands of views throughout Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. Yeah, we're huge. We are the number one, I think we were voted the most popular website or just numbers wise this
Fantastic.
past year. And we had a big Sports Keto Awards with many people was involved with it. RVD, Booker T, Eric Bischoff, Bill Apter works for
What was the
Sports
last
Keto
one?
now.
Whoa, go back.
Eric.
Eric.
he's a villain. He's a villain. Eric the heel. That's to you. He's a villain to you.
To everybody, not just me.
I know that you're not a big fan of Bischoff. Bischoff,
He's not a fan. No, I'm probably not a fan of his either. I mean,
I look. I know that we've talked many times about your checkered
we'll leave
past.
him alone. We'll leave him alone.
All right, let's do a 5 minutes to 6 minute lightning round. All right. Let's start with Steve. Your thoughts on Scott Hall passing away? You worked with them in the AWA.
Oh yeah, Scott we brought in from Kansas City, came up from Bob Geigel, and he was very, very green. We worked with him a lot, and then we tagged him up with Kurt Henning. Kurt had come out of the camp, and he was really moving up fast and had a good feel for it. And Scott learned a lot from him, and he turned out to be a phenomenal talent. And it was a sad day. Scott was a good guy, just a good guy, and playing a bad guy, which he was a bad guy, but he was a good guy too.
Yeah.
He'll be missed. He was terrific.
Yeah, absolutely. Just it's tough to see. I grew up in the 80s, and AWA was still trucking along very strongly at that time. And I remember Scott Hall. Yep. I remember Scott Hall and the AWA, and just seeing him evolve, as a fan from AWA to the Diamond Stud and WCW to Razor Ramon to Scott Hall, just that evolution of his character to become the Hall of Famer that he is, just goes to show that he believed in himself enough to go through the ringer. A lot of times, especially when he was a Diamond Stud, it really didn't go too well. You worked there in the early 90s, right? You were around there when he was a Diamond Stud, were you? Weren't you there in the early 80s in WCW?
No, I was with Turner. I was there from 93 to 95.
So I think you might have caught the tail end of Scott.
No, he wasn't there yet.
No, at 92, I think he got into WWE like late 91, early 92. I think. I think Diamond Stud was like 90, 91, if I'm not mistaken, when he was with Vinny Vegas with Diesel. And I think like early, I think it was around 92 or around there is when he started to come in WWE. But he will be missed.
It's funny because a lot of wrestlers, they flounder around and try to be somebody they're not. And when I coach kids, and I'm training 3 of them right now, and they say, well, teach us the big moves. And I said, the big moves are, if you do them at the right time, they're a big move. It doesn't have to be a flip off the back rope. It's when you do it. But what they've lost is capturing the people emotionally, getting into you either as a bad person or a good person. And I tell them, just be yourself, because everybody has an inner self who they would want to be. And that's what Vern used to try, he'd pull out of us. Just be yourself and who you really are inside. If how you feel, and express that, show it to the people. And, we're French and we have a little bit of a temper at times. And even though I'm a little smaller than other people, I knew how to get the sympathy from them. And then I was able to show that fire in who I really was when I came out of it.
Yeah.
And if people either like you or they dislike you.
Yep.
I would tell this story. Jim and I were wrestling in Denver, Colorado with Pat Patterson and Ray Stevens and Bobby Heenan in their corner. Denver was a fabulous, phenomenal place for Jim and I. I went to school out at Wyoming, so I got a lot of press out there. And it was an arena. It was kind of round, and it was seat about 14 to 16,000 people. And when we'd walk out, the place would just vibrate. It was just boom, boom, boom. And Pat had been gone for a long time. They threw him in what we call cold because he hadn't been there in a championship match with us, sold the place out, came out, and this place is just rocking and rolling. And for the first 8 minutes of the match, Stevens and Patterson controlled it. We had a top wrist lock on them. They would come out and get it on us by pulling our hair, pulling our tights. There was never a punch, never a kick, a couple of illegal tags when the referee didn't see them. And in 8 minutes, we had a full-fledged riot. We had people coming in the ring trying to help us.
It's called heat, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, you won't see that again in professional wrestling.
Yeah. Yes.
But that's because the people got into who we were and what our
personalities. And the characters overmove so much. That's
they try to make people certain characters, and that's not really them. I tell you, CM Punk. I was down, working for the WWE, and I was down in Louisville training, and CM Punk was there. And they wanted us to write their interviews from them. And I didn't do that. I give them a little beginning and a little ending, and you fill in the middle. But be yourself. And CM was struggling a little bit and really kind of pissed off. And I was trying to help him with the interview. And I said, you know what? Screw it. Just go out there and tell me how you really feel about the WWE and Vince McMahon. You're complaining all the time about it. Just give it to me. And he did this interview, how he really felt. And I said, there, that's your interview, and that's you. And be that person. And if you're frustrated, let them know. And he did those interviews, and the rest was history.
Then we get the pipe bomb.
But then I got my butt chewed out for not writing the interviews out. I guess I did something wrong here.
Right, exactly.
I became a star.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, let's do a 2-minute lightning round. Let's get as many questions as we can in 2 minutes. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, Retail is asking. Let's see.
What they say? I'll answer it. I don't care.
About releasing. Well, that's about releasing. Here we go. Retail is asking, did you enjoy teaching? What wrestler did you enjoy teaching the most, and what was it like working with Ric Flair?
Well, Rick and I started together, and I was telling the story the other day on a TV show. We had a match in Peoria, Illinois, high school gym. There's about 4,000 people in it. And Stevens and Bockwinkel were on the card that night. It was a big card, and we were rookies. This was our second match. And we went out, and we made a move early, and I body slammed Rick. And the ring collapsed in the middle and went down. And when he did, I tried to cover him there. And the referee was kind of tipped upside down. He counted 1, 2, and Rick kicked me off. And we wrestled to a 20-minute draw with a busted ring. Never.
Wow.
Couldn't get it up. I mean, it was like a valley. And when we came out, all the guys in the dressing room came out and said, guys, that was unbelievable. It was only our second match. And, we were, I guess, naturals to the business.
Yeah, naturals.
And the rest was history. I never got to wrestle Rick again when he became champion. And he'd always ask me a couple of times, because we were wrestling in St. Louis, why don't they give you a match with me in St. Louis? I said, I don't know, talk to the promoters. But they didn't want to push the AWA too much.
Yeah.
In St. Louis. We were an NWA company,
Jesus is asking, hello from Florida. What was it like working with the great Nick Bockwinkel?
Well, it was phenomenal. I mean, I was fortunate enough, and all the guys that came through the AWA, Jim and I talking about it a lot. We were so fortunate because it was a territory that all the top talent wanted to work. We worked about 270 days out of the year. We got the whole month of May off and the first 2 weeks of June, and then they just ran the major cities on the weekends. So you had time for your family. And So we were fortunate enough to have guys like Ray Stevens, Nick Bockwinkel, Pat Patterson, Bobby Heenan, Jerry Blackwell was phenomenal. From top to bottom, all the top talent wanted to be in the AWA. They were making as much money as the guys that were working 365 days, and probably more. Some were working twice on Saturday and Sunday. But Nick was he was very methodical. You could kind of a lot of times predict what Nick was going to do in the ring, whereas guys like a Ray Stevens or something, you never knew what you were going to get.
Mm-hmm.
But Nick was methodical, and he was hard to. It was fun being in the ring with. It really was. He was a great champion.
Nice. All right, so we got a roll. But Michael, was that your first MSG match against Johnny Rods?
We were just talking about that this morning with Sal Carenti.
Nice.
I went on the second match, and we wrestled about 12, 14 minutes. And when we came out of the ring, Vince Sr. came up to me and says, "What was that?" I said, "Well, that was a wrestling match." He said, "Well, how are my guys going to follow it?" I said, "I don't know. That's their deal."
Yeah, that's not my issue.
But he laughed about it because we really, Rod's, I guess, was just kind of a TV guy, but we had a heck of a match and got the people really involved with it and had them just about out of their chairs. And that was a little different for Vince Sr. at that time. They liked big guys. And I've always told the stories that, whenever it was funny when somebody came a top guy from I'll take one, Pedro Morales, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
He was main eventer in New York for how long? He came to the AWA and he never made it past the third match.
Mm.
His style was the New York style, which was a lot different than our style. At the AWA, you had to wrestle. You had to be able to wrestle, and you had to be able to know holds and how to get in and out of holds. And it was a lot different. They were, I would say, they were a little more methodical up at their pace in New York at that time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know if that makes any sense to anybody out there or not, but
yeah. New York versus Minnesota. I totally understand it. Yeah. Well, Greg, we got to bring you on again real soon.
Well, next time, somebody doesn't show up, you can call me.
No,
that's the only time I get the call. Waited
see,
3
the
years.
last time you were on this show, UnSKripted, it was totally voluntary. Totally voluntary.
Oh, sure. So, I don't remember it being voluntary. I
remember last time.
Yep. Dallas Page didn't show tonight.
Greg,
can you do it for
UnSKripted? I just talked.
I need help.
February 3rd of last year is when you're February 3rd of last year when you're on the show.
Oh, yeah. You've had everybody showed up till tonight.
I think to be honest, like the first. I've been doing this stuff I've been podcasting for 10 years now. I've been doing this show for about almost 2. Fantastic. And I think I only had like 2 or 3 no-shows. And one of them ended up coming back. Like he ended up like making up for himself. And I mean, that's crazy. Again, like I reached out to her months ago. There was some conditions to it, and I said no, thank you. And then she reached back out to me about a month ago, and I said, I'm booked until this date. And
well, I won't ask
plugging her, and
we won't ask who. I won't ask who.
Well, we know who it is because she's been.
But
everybody knows who it is. Oh, you don't know. You don't. I told you her name, but you don't know who she is, though. Like you don't even know her.
Well,
she's a youngin. So.
Well, next time you need somebody, you can always call me.
Well, I would love for you to come back to promote your stuff and bring Magnum on there too.
Well,
so
if you know Greg Oliver, he put out a thing a few weeks ago. We let out the heads of the figures. If you get a chance, take a look at it and let me know what you think. But remember, Powertrain, and it's going to be exciting, and we're going to have some different merchandise that nobody's got. So thanks again for having me on. I appreciate it.
Can you do this? See if you can do this on the other side. Can you reach your hand out? Other side. There you go. Hot tag.
There it is. Come on,
Come on, rev it up. Come on, get the crowd ready.
Man, come on,
Greg, it's always a pleasure, man. I appreciate you more than you know, man.
All right, Chris. Thanks, buddy. Good luck with everything. Okay, we'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Bye-bye.